So how do you see the world? I mean, really, is it this giant global chessboard all about power and strategy? Or is it something more internal, like a classroom just for your soul? Well, today we're going to dive into two wildly different and totally conflicting user guides for reality.
Okay, so let's get right into it. At the heart of everything we're talking about today is really just this one question. On one hand, you've got this idea that life is just a ruthless game, a competition for stuff, for control. But then, on the other hand, it's seen as this deeply personal journey, a spiritual cleansing. So let's break down what these two lenses actually look like.
Right. So on one side, you have the external worldview. We're talking geopolitics, countries as chess pieces, a constant struggle for dominance. And then you have the internal world. Here, the focus is completely different. It's all about consciousness, karma, the consequences of what we do, and the ultimate goal of ascension. Two totally different frameworks for the same reality. Let's kick things off with the grand game.
So this first way of looking at things, it suggests that human history isn't just a bunch of random stuff that happened. No, it's more like a carefully managed competition, a race, with incredibly high stakes. And it's supposedly being orchestrated by forces that are, let's just say, way beyond our normal understanding.
And the core idea here is, well, it's pretty startling. It suggests that we, Homo sapiens, were deliberately seated here on Earth. That we're basically biological machines, designed by some higher intelligence to take part in a cosmic contest. So in this view, when we say the human race, they mean that literally. It's a race, a competition.
So, how is this game supposedly being played? Well, get this. This quote from our source material claims there's a massive bait and switch going on. Everyone's worried about globalism, right? This idea of a one-world government. But the whole time, the real plan, the one being put into place right under our noses, is something else entirely. Regionalism.
Okay, so let's dig into this playbook a little deeper. If the end goal is this regionalism thing, what does that even mean, and how do they plan to get there?
All right, so here's the key concept, regional hegemony. The whole idea is to break the world up into these super powerful regional blocks. So not one single world government, but a handful of super regions. And how would they manage all this? Well, the source points to distributed ledger technology. Yep, blockchain. The perfect tool for ultimate control over, well, everything. Governance, taxes, you name it.
And this slide, wow, it really lays out the supposed game plan. The source basically outlines human history as a planned progression. We started as so-called savages, then formed tribes, and then we were organized into what we know now, nation-states. With all the flags, the anthems, the different currencies. But here's the twist. According to this theory, nation-states were never meant to be the end game. They're just a step, a phase, on the way to the real goal, these regional blocks.
Okay, so let's make this a bit more concrete. How does this strategy supposedly play out in the real world? Well, take Venezuela. According to this lens, Venezuela isn't just a country in crisis. It's a massive strategic prize. Why? It's sitting on 300 billion barrels of oil. And control of that oil is supposedly the key to kneecapping economic competitors like Russia by totally crashing the global price of oil.
And it's not just Venezuela. Then you've got Greenland. Just look at where it is on a map. It's a critical military pivot point in the Arctic, right? And this framework even suggests that the U.S. has some kind of lingering legal claim to it from way back in World War II, making it a huge asset for whatever comes next.
So if this whole geopolitical game plays out the way the source suggests, here's what the scorecard would look like. The U.S. comes out on top as the ultimate regional superpower. Russia and China, they're strategically weakened, their influence diminished. And political figures like Donald Trump, well, in this view, they are just independent leaders. They're seen more as agents, installed to manage this huge global shift toward regionalism.
Okay, now I want you to take everything we just talked about, the geopolitics, the regional blocks, all of it, and just, for a moment, set it completely aside. Because we are about to do a hard pivot. We're going to look at a worldview that isn't just different, it's on a completely separate plane of existence. We're shifting our focus from the external world to the internal landscape of consciousness itself.
And this quote right here, this is our entry point into that second framework. It basically argues that this external world, the one that feels so solid and so real, it's not. It's an interpretation. It's a simulation being run by your own body, your own biological hardware.
So what does that actually mean? Well, think of your brain like a ridiculously powerful supercomputer. Light hits your eyes, sound hits your ears.
But that's all just raw data, right? Electrical signals. It's your brain that translates all of that into the rich, 3D, full-color experience you call reality. But here's the kicker. In this view, you are not your body or your brain. You are the consciousness that is observing the simulation they're producing. And to understand this, the source uses this ancient principle, as above, so below, as a really powerful metaphor. Think about it. Every single night, we withdraw from the external world when we go to sleep. Well, death is seen as just a much bigger version of that exact same process. It's not an end. It's just a transition. Consciousness moving from the outer, physical world to the inner realms of the mind. So what does that journey actually look like, according to this view? Well, first, the physical body simulation stops. Then, your consciousness wakes up in a place called the karma loka, or the astral plane. Now, in this place, without a physical body to satisfy them, all those worldly desires and attachments, they start to burn away. And once that's done, consciousness is finally free to ascend to a higher plane, a realm of pure thought. Let's talk a little more about this astral plane. The source describes it as a realm literally made of thought. It's like an exact copy of Earth, but it's built from our collective thoughts, memories, and imaginations. So this isn't about reward or punishment, not heaven or hell like you might think. It's much more like a dream, where your inner world, all your fears, your desires, your beliefs, that's what creates the experience around you. And the whole point of it is to balance out your emotional nature.
And this leads to a really powerful metaphor that comes from the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, the weighing of the heart. The idea is that a heavy heart is weighed down by all of its attachments, addictions, ego, status, and especially the false belief that you are your body. All that stuff supposedly pulls you back for another round, back to reincarnation. But a light heart, one that's free of all that baggage, that's what allows the soul to rise up, to ascend.
Now, this is super important. The source is really clear that this isn't about rejecting the material world, going off to live like a monk, not at all. It's about enjoying life, even building abundance. The key is to just not place your soul's value on those external things. Don't let your identity get wrapped up in them. Because at the end of the day, when the simulation is over, the only things you actually take with you are internal. Your wisdom, your understanding, your connection to the divine. So, there you have it. We've just explored two profoundly different ways of looking at our reality. One is this massive strategic game played out on a global stage, and the other is a very intimate, very internal test of the soul.
Let's just put them side by side one last time to make it crystal clear. In lens number one, the geopolitical game, winning is all about getting more power, more resources, more control. Your attachments to things like nations and assets, those are the tools you use to win. But in lens number two, the spiritual test, winning means the exact opposite. It means letting go. Those same worldly attachments are seen as liabilities, as weights that are just holding your consciousness back. And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. Because whether you see life as this grand external game of chess or as a deeply personal internal journey, the lens you choose literally determines the rules you play by. It determines the prizes you're chasing and, at the end of the day, the very nature of your reality. So I'll leave you with this. Which board are you playing on?